I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, November the 19th. A lot to talk about this morning. We have a very powerful storm that is about to slam into the Pacific Northwest. It will have an impact, a large impact from later today all the way through the day on Wednesday, and really some lingering impacts out along the West Coast from Northern California to Washington through the rest of the work week, and that will include all kinds of severe weather parameters such as hurricane force winds, which could lead to widespread power outages, some flooding type rains along the coastal and low-lying sections, and some tremendous snowfall in the interior mountainous areas from the Cascade Mountains to the north to the Sierra Nevada mountains in eastern California. Meanwhile, there'll be a deepening upper level trough over the mid-Atlantic region of the northeast U.S. later this week. Impact from that significant storm in the northeastern part of the nation will begin as early as tomorrow night, and really there'll be some kind of an impact all the way through much of the upcoming weekend with respect to, for example, strong northwest winds that will be very persistent on the backside of the storm system Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even into the day on Sunday. Many areas in the interior northeast will get their first accumulating snows of the season so far. Places like the Poconos to the Catskills could even get some significant snow. Western Maryland, out in Garrett County, for example, portions of West Virginia, and certainly upstate New York, interior New England, in line for some accumulating snow. So let's begin here with the NOAA weather warnings map, nationwide basis here, just to take a look at what's going on out here in the Pacific Northwest. And this particular storm system should officially classify as what we call a bomb cyclone. That's just a term, kind of a phrase we use for rapid intensifying low pressure areas that drop as much as 24 millibars in a 24-hour period. This should easily surpass that threshold and be defined as a bomb cyclone. Whatever the case, a powerhouse storm system will slam into all the areas from Northern California up across Oregon, Washington, into southwestern Canada. All kinds of warnings here. This orange or red here, actual blizzard warnings over the northern Cascades in Washington state, and tremendous snowfall on the order of several feet possible with this system from the Cascades up north all the way down to the Sierra Nevada mountains across eastern California. We're talking several feet of snow in some of these higher elevation locations. In the lower lying coastal areas and valleys, could be some significant rainfall over the next several days. Again, the main impact comes later tomorrow through the day on Wednesday, but there can be lingering rainfall, for example, all the way through Friday, and that certainly will add to the possibility of some flooding, some mudslides, things like that. And then there are the winds. The winds can gust along coastal sections as high as 70 to 80 miles per hour, and certainly inland, some of those higher mountainous passes can see hurricane force winds as well. Unfortunately, that could lead to widespread power outages anywhere along this area, again, from Washington through Oregon into the northern half of California. Meanwhile, you can see some winter weather advisories across the northern plains. This is associated with the kind of the initial phase of that second upper level trough system that will be dropping from the northern plains into the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S., and it really deepens, it really intensifies by the time it reaches this part of the nation later in the week. We're talking later Thursday night, Friday, and that will lead to a significant storm system that will impact a wide part of the northeastern quadrant of the nation, from the Great Lakes to the northeast to the mid-Atlantic region, and certainly portions of the Ohio Valley as well. Again, significant snows possible in inland, higher elevation locations of the Appalachian Mountains. Places like upstate PA, West Virginia, upstate New York, all the way into interior New England can see their first significant accumulating snow of the season, and even into the I-95 corridor region. Let's say far north and western suburbs of D.C. and the suburbs of Philly and New York City can see some snowflakes or ice pellets mixing in with the wraparound, the instability showers that will follow from later Thursday through the day on Friday. So let's get into the details right now. Well, before we take a look at the zero-Z run of the GFS and go through the details at 500 millibars, 850 millibars, and at the surface, here is the zero-Z GFS forecast map for total snowfall over the next 5 days. That's between now and Sunday morning. And a few areas I want to highlight. Again, big storm systems out of the northwest and the northeastern part of the nation. Significant snowfall from the Cascades, excuse me, of interior Washington across Oregon and then down across the Sierra Nevada. This is over the next 5 days, and again, we're talking on the order of several feet of snow. You may recall last couple of winters, the Sierra Nevada mountains in eastern California got pummeled with tremendous snowfall, both of those winter seasons, and certainly looks like we're starting off on that kind of a track here. Not even done with the month of November, and several feet of snow can fall over the next several days over all of these higher elevation locations from interior Washington through Oregon down across the Sierra Nevada. Now, some snow here across the northern plains associated with the initial phase of that deep upper level trough that's moving over the next few days from northwest to southeast. And take a look here. This is, I think, totally believable. I tend to agree that there can be some significant snow in portions of the Mid-Atlantic and northeast U.S. from this late week storm system. I'm talking interior, higher elevation locations, let's say from the Poconos to the Catskills, certainly can see 6 inches or more from this system, the way things are setting up. And Garrett County, Maryland, western Maryland, West Virginia can certainly see half a foot of snow out of this, and all the way up across interior New England, there can be some significant snowfall as well. This is basically Thursday into Friday time period, even down into the I-95 corridor region. Let's say the far northern western suburbs of D.C., certainly the northern western suburbs of Philly and New York City can see some snow and ice pellets mixing in with these wraparound instability showers that I expect to see following the storm system, let's say from Thursday afternoon through Friday, even through Friday night. There can be these instability showers, again, possibility mixing in with snow and ice all the way down to the I-95 corridor region. Well, one last map I wanted to show here, one last plot before we get to the zero-Z run of the GFS. This is the North Atlantic Oscillation Index, one of the teleconnection indices that we like to look at. And during the wintertime, the NAO and the AO, the Arctic Oscillation, are increasingly important. So are still the teleconnection indices that we monitor out across the Pacific Ocean, such as the PNA, for example, the Pacific North America, EPO, WPO. Those are important Pacific Ocean teleconnection indices. But for the high latitude blocking situation that we look for this time of the year across northern Canada, Greenland, the NAO and the AO are quite important indices to monitor. This particular time period, the NAO has dropped into negative territory. Anything below this horizontal line right here is in negative territory, and that's all related to the pressure and temperature and wind patterns up across the North Atlantic, and its closely related cousin, the Arctic Oscillation, similarly kind of reflects the temperature, precipitation, and wind patterns up across the Arctic region. When these indices drop into negative territory this time of the year, heading into the winter season or during the winter season, that often suggests high latitude blocking sets up. And by that I mean higher pressure, higher heights than normal in places like northeastern Canada, Greenland, maybe even Iceland. And that in turn tends to favor the cold air influx from Canada into the central and eastern U.S. If you like cold, if you like snow, you live in the eastern U.S., you like to see the NAO and the AO not only drop into negative territory as we get into the winter season, but stay there, be kind of a sustained period. And that, again, is generally correlated with high latitude blocking. We'll see in a moment here, boy, do we have high latitude blocking over the next few days here. And again, this is dropping sharply into negative territory all the way down to -2. It does rebound, and so this is not going to be a permanent feature here on this high latitude blocking. But I will say this, we've had quite a bit of high latitude blocking, not only during the fall season, but really during the summer season, and that helped contribute to the very, very dry weather pattern in the northeastern part of the nation, specifically DC, Philadelphia, New York City as an example, with a lot of high pressure sitting over the southeastern part of Canada week after week after week. So we'll see if that blocking continues, and we'll see in a moment here some rather unusual blocking here across North America. But again, the NAO is a good supporting evidence for this high latitude blocking situation that is unfolding. Well, certainly one place to look for high latitude blocking, 500 millibar height anomaly forecast map. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast maps from last night's conventional run of the GFS, the 0Z version of the GFS. And look at this. Not only do you have off the scale type heights compared to normal over northeastern Canada and Greenland, you have a similar situation out over the Aleutian Islands. And this is quite an unusual map in that you don't see this too often. We'll go forward a couple of days here, and look what happens here. You have, by the time we get to the midweek, you have just a tremendous and intense ridge of high pressure stationed over the Aleutian Islands. At the same time, a deep, deep upper level trough near just off the northwest coast of the U.S. Similarly, high latitude blocking here over northeastern Canada, Greenland, with higher pressures to normal. Similarly, compared to out here, you have a deep upper level trough over the northern plains. This is that upper level trough that will support this surface low pressure system from intensifying rapidly over the next 12 to 24 to 36 hours or so, reaching the bomb cyclone threshold of 24 millibar drop in a 24-hour period. Gets down to as low as 940, 945 millibars. That's like 27.80 some inches. If you take a look at your home barometer, that is extremely low. It's equivalent to maybe a Category 4 hurricane, and just tremendous impact coming to Northern California, Oregon, Washington from this powerhouse storm system. Again, all the severe weather parameters out there, hurricane force winds, tremendous rainfall in the low-lying areas, and substantial snowfall in the higher elevation locations. This trough dives to the south and east and intensifies. And here we go. By the time we get to late Thursday, not only does it intensify, it kind of takes on what we call a negative tilt to it. That leads to enhanced upward motion on the eastern side, and that in turn will lead to the development of a secondary low pressure system right along the northern mid-Atlantic coastline right here. So a deepening trough, a negatively tilted trough, and you have a significant storm system coming to the Great Lakes, the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S. Notice it's high latitude blocking still sitting around here later this week. That prevents any kind of rapid movement to the north. It basically slows down the movement of both of these upper level trough systems, and that prolongs the impact not only out here along the west coast. Again, the main impact from this storm will be later today through tomorrow, but there will be continuing impact in terms of precipitation and winds all the way through Thursday and Friday as well out across the Pacific Northwest. And similarly, impact here actually gets underway later tomorrow, but can continue well into the weekend with this high latitude blocking pattern here. We'll go out a few more days here. Basically, it's forced to rotate around here for a few days, and that again prolongs the impact here. Strong winds out of the northwest, kind of on the backside of that initial push of the storm system, will last not only Thursday and Friday and Saturday, but likely into Sunday as well. Certainly across New England, you can still see some strong northwest winds on the backside of the storm system. We'll go out a little bit farther in time into the upcoming weekend. Here we are on Saturday. Still a similar pattern here with a lot of blocking, high pressure up across the Aleutian Islands and Alaska, northeastern Canada, and Greenland, with a significant low pressure areas. In both cases, they tend to hang around for a few days, tend to kind of rotate around and that just prolongs the impact over a several-day period. Well, now let's take a look at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. And about a week or so ago, we started talking about kind of a pattern change for the central and eastern states, in that I expected to see multiple cold air shots. Certainly we have a cold air shot coming later this week into the Great Lakes, Northeast U.S., Mid-Atlantic region. That will not be the last by any means. There certainly continue to be signs for multiple cold air shots going through the latter part of November, even into early December. Kind of an overall wintry look to the pattern here, setting up for the central and eastern states. We talked about the last, perhaps the last hurrah of the tropical season sometimes leads to that pattern change, and indeed the remnants of the tropical storm of a few days ago will produce some heavy rainfall. A little bit of that moisture does get entrained into this incoming trough. We'll see that on the surface maps next, but just wanted to point out multiple cold air shots coming to the central and eastern states. We start off the day here warmer than normal across the eastern half of the nation and colder than normal out across the west. And then we go into the midweek, later in the week, and here we go. Here's cold shot number one moving across the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley by midday on Thursday, as that significant storm kind of rotates around the northeastern states, moves all the way into the Mid-Atlantic region, and kind of sticks around for a few days. And here we are all the way into Saturday and Sunday. Still some strong northwest winds up across New England as late as Sunday from the slow-moving storm system, and colder than normal all the way through Sunday, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. And here we go. Look at that. Another cold air shot starting to show up on the maps here early next week. Now we're into Thanksgiving week. This is Tuesday, a week from right now, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Another cold shot dropping south and east across Canada. And that's not too surprising given that high latitude blocking to the north. And here we go beyond that time period. This is Thanksgiving. Now this is beyond Thanksgiving. Again, this is just one model run, but look at all that cold air up across the northern states here, southern part of Canada. This is all the way out to Saturday, November 30th, going right to the end of the month of November. So certainly a wintry looking pattern setting up here for much of the central and eastern U.S. and frankly all the way across the northern U.S. A wintry looking pattern setting up here. Now let's kind of walk through the surface forecast maps, again using the 0Z run of the GFS, and we'll kind of walk through frame by frame here, and a lot going on. First of all, some precipitation already impacting the Pacific Northwest. Inland, higher elevation snows, low-lying areas along coastal regions, some rainfall. Notice the isobars right here, these black lines, they will get much, much tighter than what you see right here, and that will be indicative of a very strong pressure gradient that sets up as that low, the central pressure of that low pressure area deepens rapidly over the next 24 hours, tight pressure gradient, resulting in hurricane force winds. Now, shifting here to the northern Gulf, this is a remnant of that tropical moisture associated with the tropical storm of a few days ago that moved over the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico. Some of its moisture field has made it north. Not a named system by any means here, but a pretty good rainmaker across New Orleans and into southern parts of Mississippi, Alabama. And so it's kind of feeding into this incoming trough here, at least in some form. Some of that moisture is making its way. Now let's kind of clear the map here and go forward in time. And here's that tropical moisture here. And look at the tightening of these isobars right here. We'll go back again a couple of frames. Notice the tightening of that pressure gradient. That is a scary thing to see here. It suggests as much as 70+ mile per hour winds across coastal sections and in some of those higher mountainous passes here. Now, here we get into the day on Wednesday. Cold air charging to the south and east across the middle part of the nation. Big impact here into the early hours on Wednesday right here. Heavy rain across west coast coastal sections here, and a tremendous snowfall in those Cascade Mountains and ultimately the Sierra Mountains. Now we'll go a little farther in time, and here we go. This is kind of an occluded front, what we call an occluded front, or just let's call it a cold front, pushes into the mid-Atlantic region later tomorrow night into early Wednesday. This initial batch of rain will be welcome indeed. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and in many spots, the best rainfall that we have seen in many, many weeks. It's been very, very dry, especially across Philadelphia and New York City. I expect to see probably from Philly north, anywhere from a half an inch to an inch or so. Probably from south of the Mason-Dixon line to D.C., more like a quarter inch to a half inch. Nonetheless, beneficial rainfall and the best in quite a while in many parts of the Mid-Atlantic region. That's just the initial impact of this developing storm system, the rain in the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. from later tomorrow into early Thursday. Now, we'll push forward here. Secondary low starts to form here. Again, we talked about that upper level trough kind of going negatively tilted. That leads to enhanced upper motion on the eastern side, and that is your secondary low pressure development right here showing up here. Meanwhile, still getting pounded out across Northern California all the way into the day on Thursday. Then this system is forced to rotate around, and notice snow starting to show up here on the GFS forecast maps here. And again, this area, Catskills, for example, upstate New York, they could be in line for some significant snowfall, maybe even down to the Poconos of northeastern Pennsylvania right here, as that secondary storm system kind of takes over and produces some significant precipitation out across those higher elevation regions from the Poconos to the Catskills, also out across West Virginia, western Maryland, like Garrett County, for example. They can get several inches of snow here. And the instability showers on the backside will continue right into the day on Friday, probably through Friday. And at this time, we could certainly see some snowflakes, ice pellets mixing in all the way down to the I-95 corridor region, perhaps the far northern western suburbs of D.C., but any of the suburbs, Philly, New York City, could see some snow or ice pellets mixing in with these wraparound instability showers. And again, I mentioned it's a slow mover. You see the isobar pattern rather tight here as well in the northeastern states. This will be a persistent northwesterly flow of air on the backside of the storm system that will last into Saturday and even into the day on Sunday. Will go all the way out here into Sunday morning. It's still quite a pressure gradient showing up here between this high to the south and west and the departing deep low to the north and east. Quite a persistent northwesterly flow of air lasting all the way through the upcoming weekend in much of the northeastern part of the nation. So a lot going on from coast to coast. Stay tuned to ArcfieldWeather.com for updates later today and for the rest of the week. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.